I don't know if where you live, you've noticed the same thing that I have, but since May, June of this year, we are, just to situate you, we are right around mid-August at this point in time. Uh, these things, I should say, have been popping up like dandelions in spring. Same thing for the Equinox. The new Chevy Blazer EV, I think, at least in the greater Montreal area, arrived in late spring. And it's as though everyone flocked to it somehow. I say that with only observations, right, in mind. I don't have any concrete numbers to share with you, but with the exception of the Model Y, the Ford Mach-E, this thing looks to be outselling absolutely everything else compared to a Volkswagen ID4, which has been around for far, far longer than this, or at least as long as the Mach-E, compared to, well, Honda Prologue, none. I've not seen one so far yet on the road. What else am I skipping over? The Solterra, the BZ4X. I mean, there seems to be 3 Blazers for each and every one of these models. And I have to admit that since they started sprouting up everywhere, I have been very much looking forward to reviewing a brand new Blazer EV. And for the most part, let me just quick contrast for you. The Blazer ICE, in my opinion, is one of the least interesting mid-size two-row SUVs money can buy. If you slice out the front end, it's rental spec boring. I've said it, I'm done. There was a little bit of that, I have to admit, so put that aside now. There's a little bit of that before I picked this up, because I have to say that I think 4 out of 5 that I see are this spec, so RS spec. The base LT, I see very, very few of them, and based on the pictures that I've seen and that you've probably seen already, it also kind of looks rental spec-ish. Now what GM has done, and we'll talk about a little bit more about the design, and they've done the same thing with the Blazer, is they really, really want to put everything on the surface. And they've done so with the Blazer, but thankfully, there's a lot of substance built into it as well. But, and kind of true to GM's nature, there are some things that I simply do not understand in the way it's packaged. It's as though, look, we have offered this with our product, but don't look down here because you won't find what you probably will find in almost every other competitor's vehicle. Anyhow, to say that I'm in love with this would be a little bit of a strong statement. Oh yeah, the Aria too. I mean, there are a number of Arias on the road, but even so, the Blazer seems to be outselling it something fierce. But I do like it. Not in love with it, but I like it a lot. One of the issues is what I just mentioned about the way some of the things, the way it's packaged. Some features should be included and are not, while others are not entirely necessary, but they're there. And anyhow, well, look, in the next few minutes, hopefully it'll be only a few, we'll do the walk around of this 2024 Chevrolet Blazer EV RS, and then we're going to go for a drive, as per the norm. So I hope you do stick around and explore the Blazer with me. Let's get into design. You've seen a bunch on the road, and admittedly, it's a good-looking SUV. The front end treatment is definitely far more characterful than the Equinox EV, which I will be reviewing in the near future. But as I said, unlike the Blazer ICE, there's more to it. The design flows nicely front to back. As we do our first lap, base price for the LTE all-wheel drive is $56,999 in Canada. The equivalent LT, $48,800 in the US. And with that, you get a heated steering wheel, 11-inch digital IP, Google built-in 17.7-inch touchscreen. That's pretty big. 19-inch wheels, and yeah, the RS as it sits here, interesting in Canada. For $63,999, you get either the the rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive for the same money. The difference is, I'll just tell you now, is that instead of having two mildly powerful electric motors to motivate the thing, you get a far more powerful rear-mounted motor in the rear-wheel drive RS. I'll give you some numbers later. In the US, $53,200 is what the RS starts at. With it, you get blacked out trim and these 21-inch wheels. So the blacked out trim is really what makes essentially all the difference. All right, it with this radiant red color, really, I don't want to say it makes it look bespoke, but the combination is really, really nice. I have to say, it's really, really growing on me. So as it sits right here, $64,794, because it's almost $700 for the red color. Just to let you know, the wheelbase is about 3 meters long, and overall length is just shy of 4.9 meters long. So it's a strangely big, yet not that big SUV. What else can I tell you? I think that's it for now. One final lap. Well, actually, we're going to do another lap, but now I'm going to show you a bunch of things that bother me about this vehicle. The first thing being, well, let's lock it up. This thing should have intelligent door handles where it unlocks. It just would make far more sense than these chrome buttons, because what the vehicle will do, it will recognize the driver or the owner of the key as it walks up to it. So in my mind, you know, it should be just a matter of putting your hand and it should unlock. So this is kind of at least it's on all door handles, we'll give it that, but it's kind of a new problem with a modern touch. I don't know if that makes any sense. The other thing that makes it doesn't, and it's not working. I don't understand. So normally, if I stand behind the hatch for max 10 seconds, the hatch opens up automatically. This is the third time now that I try and make it work, and it doesn't. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on. But hey, 722 liters of boot space, very usable, good width, and there's storage under here as well, which is really nice. I have to admit, I am a little miffed that the power hatch is not recognizing me as I want it to. Let's just see if I can tease it. Come on, come on. I promise you it opens up with the proximity of the key, and it just won't do it now. But see, that's cool, but why the buttons on the door handles, which doesn't make sense. The other thing that's kind of odd, this is fine, but it's these gimmicks. Oof. Ay, 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 ay. That, I don't know how long that'll last. I mean, one winter maybe, second winter. It just seems, I mean, it's a little too gimmicky as far as I'm concerned. The other thing, right, with the door handles and is that it's as though GM was listening to me. It's one of my favorite aspects of this vehicle. And Tesla's, as soon as you get in, press on the brake, it's on, it's ready to go. That's fantastic. And I love the column shifter. I just absolutely love the column shifter. It's brilliant. It's old school, well adapted to modern use. And it frees up so much space. I mean, storage, I am definitely going to lose something in there. Definitely, absolutely going to lose something in there. I guess as we're out here, I mean, just storage. This is the Evotex seat material, which is actually quite nice. Visibility is fantastic. Look at this. Even though the base of the pillar is massive, this reminds me of cab forward designs from the 90s at Chrysler, if you remember. The dashboard is massively deep. The base of the windshield is so far away, which is why this actually works to offset the massive base of the A-pillar. Fit and finish are actually, they look good, but See, this is where a few things. So this is your 11-inch IP. It's got different configurations depending on the buttons you want to press. Over here, as always, the volume buttons are behind the wheel here, and this, I'll show you now. This is for the, I guess you can call it manual regen braking. But okay, so 17-inch display. The thing with the 17-inch display, and I drive very close to the steering wheel, is this is very unfortunate because I like to steady my hand and then select my menu and then go, for example, to drive modes, and there they are. So now you know I've configured my mode. And this is another thing too, motor sound, as you can see, is off because I hate these fake noises. Steering is on normal, brake feel is on normal, sport feels so off. And obviously you want to have a little bit of fun. But yeah, this, see, it's not like I'm trying to tear it out of the dashboard, the screen, but that's a terrible thing. And then when you start feeling around, I can't deal with that, not in 2024. But the layout is very nice. You have some shortcut buttons here, so vehicle off. Yeah, you can let it run for a while. That's your one pedal drive. A few shortcuts here is very nice. This is your volume knob, which I think is very cool as well. Well integrated. I said storage, I mentioned that. The vents, very Camaro, very Blazer-ish, which do exactly what they're meant to do. The steering wheel, the bottom, the grip is fabulous. I mean, it's a nice place to be. And then you come down over here and you're in a $65,000 SUV and you only have the driver auto up and down window switch. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, in a Volkswagen, you had all four. Even in Toyota products now, which if I recall correctly, they wouldn't do that for a long time. Now they do. What is this business? Why? What? Chip problem? I don't buy it anymore. Not this far after the pandemic. Anyhow, for the most part, the menus are intuitive, fairly straightforward. You have just enough hard buttons. I mean, it's a lovely place to be, but this type of stuff really worries me about, what this thing's going to be like in 18 months. I think I skipped the rear completely. It's actually quite spacious, I just realized, because I was upset with the door handles and the hatch. Oh, and yeah, the last thing, here we go. Try to get out of the shot. So yeah, that is terrible visibility, but GM thought of everything. So you have the rear camera mounted, but I still can't work with that, but I'm sure it's just a matter of habit. I've said way too much. Time for a drive. So as I wait patiently at another traffic light, turn down the AC slightly. I have to say, there isn't anything inherently wrong that I can find so far this week with GM's Ultium EV technology as a whole. From the platform to the charging, I mean, I did have a few at home charger issues where the Blazer was telling me, I'm not taking this juice from you, and yet it did. So I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it didn't like to taste it first and then it warmed up to it. I don't know. But it worked out perfectly fine. What you get here is an 85 kilowatt hour battery, which is capable of up to 150 kilowatts of charging speed, which is, fast charging acceptable today. Once you step up the Blazer SS, charging speeds increase to 190, which becomes a little bit more interesting so long as the charging infrastructure is available. But yeah, so the two motors that you get in the E all-wheel drive setup in both the LT and RS puts out a combined 288 horsepower and 333 pound-feet of torque. Given the weight of this vehicle, which I think is close to 5,000 pounds, I mean, it makes for a sprightly, as always, because that torque is instantly available. When you put your foot in it, it kind of moves, but it's not, it won't throw your head back as some other similar EVs will do. But, in today's world, you want your 449 kilometers of estimated range. I think it's 521 when you get the single motor rear wheel drive version. But 449 is borderline okay. I mean, I had it charged fully this morning and I had 470 something, I think, indicated. So it's believable in these conditions. The AC's been on almost constantly, but there's no snow and the driving conditions are good. Look, it's all doable. You have a home charger, it'll work out fine. By the way, if you take the single rear motor, you get up to 342 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque. So it's going to be a little bit more dynamic-ish, but I don't think it'll be that much faster. Yes, it'll be lighter, similar power. Anyway, I don't see really the interest in a two-wheel drive Blazer RS, but maybe it's just me. As I was saying, with the structure, the chassis, the ride quality is very nice. I mean, it teeters more towards, a little bit of a sportier feel to it, which is what, Chevy wants to convince you that, hey, this is a Blazer RS, it's rally sport. But you know what, it's still very comfortable, incredibly civilized. There is one other issue, and I didn't bring it up when I was driving at slower speeds, but the electric motors make a noise, as they should, up until about 38 or 39 kilometers an hour, then it goes away. The thing with this noise is that it's omnipresent, and it really drills into your eardrum, and you cannot shut it off. I understand that it's for safety features, for pedestrians, but the noise should be outside only, not inside. It should be something that can be turned off. I showed you my motor noise is off, but this noise is, I can't find a way to turn it off. It's pointless. The music has to be loud all the time because of that noise. The music has to be on all the time because of that noise. But again, ride, brakes, the single pedal, it's fairly aggressive as far as regen braking is concerned. Once you get used to it, you can perfectly judge your stopping distances, and you hold it, it'll give you an auto hold function as well. It's not quite as sophisticated as, the multiple brake regen modes you get in the Korean products. But it works well. It's just an adaptation of the same functions. Single pedal drive is max regen, so it's only really good when you're in the city. But in fact, I've used it almost not at all because of the paddle. I think I'd rather see multiple regen modes other than these two, full on but different application. This is temporary and that's permanent when activated, of course. Ride quality is good. Brakes feel nice. Steering is as steery as you'd expect in a vehicle like this. And other than the noise at low speed, it's still relatively quiet in here. I like it. I get it. It looks very decent. But other than the, like the power windows and the door locks and gimmicky things, it's a really, really good EV. I'm on the floor. It won't snap your head back, but it just does an absolutely fine job of being the EV that, everybody really needs. A nice move. And yeah, that's it.